Peaceful protesting in the metro, memorials for George Floyd. Former President Barack Obama thanks protesters, and the latest on the coronavirus. Joe Chiodo from KCTV 5 News this morning is here with a look at what's making news today. Coronavirus, I feel like I haven't said that in a few days.
I know.
But let's first talk about protesting the Unity March that happened yesterday. We carried this live on our air, and part of it I felt was really encouraging. What's the latest, what we've heard from police and protesters?
I think the majority of it, most of it was very encouraging. You're right. I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. It concluded just after midnight today, and as we've kind of seen, when nightfall comes and the sun goes down, it gets a little more agitated and aggression on both sides and some tension. But what we want to focus on is the fact that for the strong majority of it, very peaceful.
Yeah.
Police calling it their best night of the whole week so far. Violence continued to de-escalate. They say that they didn't use any tear gas for the second straight night, and arrest numbers continued to drop, which is good news.
Embrace the uncomfortableness, because it's going to be uncomfortable.
I don't want to sugarcoat it. What we experienced last week was a modern day lynching. Okay, but instead of a tree, they used concrete. Instead of a gun or instead of a noose, they used a knee. And instead of wearing a cape or a cloak, they wore a uniform.
It's not going to die down this time. It's not going to die down this time because everybody's fed up. It's not just the victims that's fed up.
And so beyond arrest numbers, beyond tear gas, any of that, what's most important here is that overwhelmingly this Unity March was a feeling of peacefulness and progress being made, which is the key factor there. Police marching with community members in an effort to show their support of human rights. At one point, the crowd chanted to fire Chief Rick Smith with KCPD, the chief saying that he has no plans to do so. He and Mayor Lucas set up tents and a table. They sat right down with community members in the park so they could talk and hear each other's voices and different perspectives. Protesters say this demonstration was a start. Of course, the fight is not over.
No.
Really, this is just the beginning step of a very long list of things that need to happen. One of those, though, that did happen, a key piece of policy change, is that Kansas City Police, we learned yesterday, they will start to wear body cameras now. That's going to happen as soon as possible. No date set yet, but in the very near future. In total, those cameras, they're $2.5 million. Some of that came from a donation from the DeBruce Foundation. All of it is very important, though, because that is one thing that the protesters and a lot of people in the community have been wanting for so long. So to see some actual change come from this, I think is promising for people that are asking of this.
Yeah, and to actually see the change, you know, I mean, I'm sure people will be very happy when that actually comes to fruition and the officer steps out on the street with the camera there on his vest. This is all, of course, the result of the killing of George Floyd in Minnesota. And is there a memorial service happening? Is that today?
Yeah, so the first one will begin today. There is a few, and this is what we want to keep coming back to. There is reason for these protests. There are reason for these marches. It is because of the killing of George Floyd. So we don't want people to forget that. Also this morning, we can tell you that in addition to Officer Chauvin, that of course has been upgraded to a second-degree murder charge, the other 3 officers involved have also been charged now.
And they're all in custody, too,
They're all
right?
in custody.
Yeah.
So that was a plea from the community members there and across the nation. And that public viewing memorial you were mentioning, that will be held Saturday in North Carolina and then Monday as well. However, the live coverage of the memorial service that is kicking off today in Minneapolis, that will be carried live on air on CBS at 1 o'clock. So everybody here can tune into that. The Monday one will happen in Houston, his hometown.
Okay. Now, former President Barack Obama spoke a little bit about this yesterday. He held a virtual town hall. What all did he have to say? So
the president thanked protesters. He said that going into the streets and fighting for civil rights around the country is the way to make movement and make policy change. That was an online town hall that he did. And that was him basically urging young Black Americans to feel hopeful, even as you do feel angry. I mean, there's no denying the emotions are at every end of the spectrum with all of this. But he says that this hopefully will get change to come.
There is a change in mindset that's taking place, a greater recognition that we can do better. That's a direct result of the activities and organizing and mobilization and engagement of so many young people across the country.
Fascinating. And with just how much this has swept over the country, we seem to have almost forgotten about the coronavirus pandemic, which is ongoing. So real quickly, what's the latest with this?
And I think the important part is to not forget about it. There is a certain list of priorities here, and your attention needs to be on all of them. With the coronavirus, what we can tell you is that it is of concern because we know people are gathering in extreme numbers right now. And that is not to say they shouldn't, but it is to say that you need to be cautious. We've seen a lot of the protesters wearing masks. Continue to do so, because here is this study. If you don't wear a mask, your risk of transmitting COVID-19 is 17.4%.
Wow.
With a mask, that does drop down to 3.1%. I mean, that's a 14% greater risk if you aren't following these precautions. So be sure to do that. Also, we can tell you the Trump administration says 5 companies, 4 of them American, are among the candidates that will produce a coronavirus vaccine. Hopefully we see it sooner than later.
No joke. It's just it's a lot at once. So Joe Chiodo,
so much.
KCTV 5 News this morning. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it.
All right, thank you.